My fiancée disappeared before the wedding, leaving me alone. Months later, when we met again, she stroked her pregnant belly and said, "Don't worry, the father of this child will only be you. You were the one who wanted the vasectomy." I replied coldly, "My parents need a son to inherit the family wealth." I threw the engagement ring into the drain and turned to leave. Olivia Clark was confident I wouldn't leave her, thinking I'd eventually come back. But everything changed when a paparazzi caught her entering the maternity ward with an unknown man. The princess proudly announced, "Yes, we're having a baby." Olivia Clark went mad and caused a scene at the maternity center, holding the ring I'd thrown away and begging me to marry her. When I arrived at the hotel suite, Olivia was leaning against Maxwell King, looking like a delicate bird. She held her belly with one hand, and with the other, Olivia's mother tightly gripped her. She looked somewhat shy, but also pleased with herself. The moment Olivia saw me, her pupils shrank, but she quickly regained her composure. Maxwell King and her parents noticed me, too, and with a sense of triumph, Maxwell King tightened his hold on Olivia. "Justin's here. Come on in." Olivia's mother broke the silence as if nothing had happened. I smiled faintly and walked into the room. My gaze landed on Olivia's slightly rounded belly. Quite the lively scene. Is this a rehearsal for how the five of you will enjoy family bliss? The woman I once pursued for years, who disappeared without a trace and reappeared months later, pregnant with another man's child, was now inviting me to dinner with her new lover, and her parents were there too. Truly thrilling. Olivia's brows furrowed as if I'd said something sacrilegious, as though I was the one who'd made a mistake. Olivia's mother remained unfazed and casually continued, "Justin, since you already know, I won't hide it from you." She took a sip from her tea, her tone matter-of-fact. "In families like ours, the most important thing is heirs. I know you and Olivia had an engagement." She paused. "But since you can't produce a son, it's hard for me to let you in." Olivia sat silently by, not objecting to her mother's words, as if they were true. After a long pause, Olivia finally spoke. "Don't worry. To the outside world, the father of this child will only be you. After all, we've been together for so many years." She knew I had loved her all these years. Olivia and I were the school's golden couple. She, the rich heiress, and I, a poor boy. To be worthy of her, I worked tirelessly, barely taking a break, until I had built up enough of a foundation to propose to her, to offer her a future. She didn't like using condoms because they felt uncomfortable, and I didn't want her to take the pill, worried it would harm her health. So after our first night together, I thought for a week and finally decided to undergo a vasectomy. When she found out, she was heartbroken and begged me not to. I reassured her, saying I could always reverse it, and when we got married and she wanted children, we could try again. That day, she swore she would never let me down. But just when everything was going well and we were about to get married, she disappeared. I searched high and low for her in the entire capital, and when I was almost going mad, she appeared pregnant with another man's child, telling me I would be the father. Her and Maxwell King's expressions were as if they were granting me some grand favor. At that moment, Maxwell's face, usually kind, flashed with resentment and jealousy, but he quickly masked it, continuing to flirt with Olivia. I, however, didn't accept their gift. Coldly I said, "No thanks." With that, I took off the engagement ring, tossed it on the ground, and it made a sharp metallic sound that echoed in the spacious suite. Olivia looked at me in disbelief. "Justin Hayes, you're insane. This was the ring my mother gave you." Olivia's mother, who had been holding the teacup, finally lost her composure. She put it down, her tone turning harsh. "Is this how the Hayes family teaches you?" I met her gaze directly. "Aunt, how the Hayes family raised me is no longer your concern. But as for how the Clark family educates their children, Justin Hayes, how dare you speak to my mother like that?" Before I could finish, Olivia jumped to her feet, pointing at me, her face flushed with fury. "You don't want the ring. There are plenty of people who do. Don't come crawling back later. Even if you beg me, I'll never forgive you." Furious, Olivia grabbed the ring off the ground, without thinking, and slipped it onto Maxwell's finger. Maxwell King was overjoyed, holding her hand as tears welled in his eyes. I stood there, watching the scene unfold like a farce, but strangely, I felt nothing. The love I once had seemed to have been dissolved in the accumulation of disappointments. I didn't cry, didn't shout. I simply turned and walked out of the suite. After leaving the hotel, I drove straight to a place I hadn't visited in a long time, the racetrack. When I was younger, my dream was to become a race car driver, but it was always dismissed as a waste of time. Later, a family crisis caused me to lose everything in an instant. It was Olivia Clark who called the police and saved me from a suicide attempt, and I hopelessly fell in love with her. She was her parents' only child, and Olivia Clark's father demanded that I marry into their family, a humiliating request for any man. But because I loved her, I agreed without hesitation. At the time, I thought that true love could conquer anything. Olivia Clark's father took steps to train me, and based on my previous experience, I progressed quickly. I still remember what Olivia Clark once said: "Racing is too dangerous. Now that you have me and a family to think about, I won't let you race. It's for your own good." At that moment, I felt a sweetness in my heart and I took her words as gospel. I never touched racing again. I had no other hobbies aside from loving her. But now, what does any of that matter? I walked to the front desk and ordered the best performing race car. The attendant, a middle-aged bald man, looked me up and down. "Kid, can you drive?" Without saying much, I just slapped a black card into his hand. As we entered the garage, a red F for sports car caught my eye. I ran my hand over the steering wheel, feeling a long-lost thrill. Long time no see, my old friend. Then I stepped on the gas and the car shot out of the garage. I barely noticed the cheers from the spectators. All my focus was on the track ahead. Suddenly, another car shot past me from the side, nearly brushing against me. It was a silver F4 and its speed matched mine. A chill ran through me and I grew even more excited. I quickly adjusted my direction and began a race with the other car. The silver car closely followed me, its speed tearing through the air as if it were shredding the very atmosphere around us. On the final lap, we were almost neck and neck as we sped toward the finish line. The air was thick with the scent of gasoline, and I hadn't felt such a rush in ages. I took off my helmet and glanced over at the silver car. The driver took off her helmet. It was her. Chloe Hall looked at me, raising an eyebrow. "What's this? Not following Olivia Clark around like a puppy today." Getting into something more exciting, I couldn't stand hearing Olivia Clark's name. "Don't bring her up in front of me." Chloe Hall paused for a moment, then asked, "So, you finally figured it out?" "What do you mean?" I looked at her confused, noticing her hand instinctively covering her mouth. I couldn't help but smile bitterly, realizing that everyone else already knew about my situation except me. I loosened my clenched fist, exhaling deeply, and looked at her. "How about one more lap?" Chloe Hall shook her head. "You're not in the right state of mind for something that dangerous." As she spoke, she moved closer, placing her hand on my arm. Standing on tiptoe, she let her lips graze my earlobe, her voice low and teasing. "I know a nice hotel. How about we try a different kind of ride?" At that moment, I should have understood, even if I were dense, but Chloe Hall smiled faintly, her tongue lightly brushing my ear, sending shivers down my spine. "Are you afraid Olivia Clark will find out?" Chloe Hall had a reputation for being cold and distant. Many young men who tried to flirt with her had ended up humiliated, and there were even rumors in the circle about her being different. Her words left me uncertain about her intentions, but I didn't expect her to act so decisively. Sensing my hesitation, she shoved me into the car and buckled me in before jumping into the driver's seat and speeding off to the hotel. On the way to the hotel, Chloe Hall drove as though she were trying to outrun time itself, faster than even on the racetrack. Once we arrived at the hotel, Chloe Hall seemed to be in a hurry. She pushed me against the wall and immediately began unbuttoning my shirt. "Going all out?" I said softly. Seeing that I hesitated just a little, her eyes darkened. "Want to try something different?" She let out a soft laugh, her breath hot against my ear as she moved closer. "I'll take that as a yes." Then her scent enveloped me, and her lips met mine. The next moment, I deepened the kiss. We collapsed onto the soft bed, our awareness fading. But I could still feel her hurried breaths and the thumping of her heart. "Justin," she whispered my name, her voice low with a tremor of restraint. I did my best to guide her, helping her relax as we reached new heights, only to realize how perfectly in sync we were. The whole night it felt like we were adrift on a small boat in the middle of the ocean. Sometimes there was calm, other times the waves crashed against us. We held each other tightly, as if we were each other's desperate salvation. When I woke up in the morning, holding Chloe Hall in my arms as she slept, I felt a moment of confusion. Then my phone rang. It was Olivia Clark. "Don't forget today's auction. Get ready and come over quickly." Olivia Clark spoke as if nothing had happened yesterday, her tone casual. I scoffed. So now she knows she can't parade around as the other woman and wants me to attend the auction with her. I replied coldly, "Olivia Clark, what's wrong with you? Have you forgotten I called off the engagement yesterday? There's no more relationship between us." But Olivia's focus seemed to be elsewhere. "Why does your voice sound like that? Did you drink last night?" she asked. After a moment, she finally reacted, her tone suddenly rising. "Who the hell are you messing around with now?" I found it amusing, but didn't bother to respond to Olivia Clark. I just hung up the phone. But the vixen beside me had been woken by the noise. She heard me talking to Olivia Clark, and her expression darkened. She seemed to think that I was only with her despite Olivia Clark. That Olivia Clark, she's well known for being a scheming woman. Is she really worth all this attention? Am I overthinking things? At that moment, Chloe Hall looked at me seriously, her long lashes trembling slightly. "All these years, are you still with Olivia Clark because of the arranged marriage between the Hayes and Clark families?" In truth, Chloe Hall was half right. What had kept me in this relationship all these years was also the naive fondness I had for her when I was young. But that love had long since faded. Seeing that I was silent, Chloe Hall spoke again. "Speaking of arranged marriages, what do you think of the Hall family?" The Hall family. Chloe Hall's question felt a bit like she already knew the answer. From her terrace status alone, one could tell how powerful the Hall family was in the capital. Before I could come up with a response, Chloe Hall dragged me out of bed. Where are we going? Chloe Hall smiled faintly. The auction. At the auction entrance, Maxwell King was holding Olivia Clark's arm, staying close to her every step of the way. Maybe it was his first time attending such an event because he looked nervous and awkward. I overheard Olivia Clark's follower, Grace Miller, asking, "Olivia, did your fiancé really break off the engagement with you?" At the sound of this, Olivia Clark's expression instantly darkened. When Maxwell King heard fiancé, he subtly rolled his eyes, clearly displeased. Grace Miller quickly sensed the tension and rushed to smooth things over. "How could that be? Everyone knows that for all these years, your fiancé has been completely devoted to you. A Stanford graduate, and he's willing to be your dog. That was just a little game, trying to grab your attention. Besides, with the Hayes family's current situation, they can't get by without the Clark family's support. Even if your fiancé wanted to end it, the Hayes family would never agree." At last, Olivia Clark's face softened a little. Just then, Olivia Clark noticed me. Her lips moved as if she was about to say something, but her gaze shifted to the hand I had wrapped around Chloe Hall's. She instantly exploded. "Justin Hayes, what the hell? You bring this vixen in front of me." Her voice was loud enough to draw attention from the surrounding people. I saw Maxwell King flash a hint of schadenfreude in his eyes, but he quickly covered it up, putting on a worried expression. "What a show." I let out a cold laugh and stared straight into Olivia Clark's eyes. "Olivia Clark, we're no longer engaged. Who I'm with now is none of your business, right?" Olivia Clark froze for a moment, clearly shocked by my resolute attitude. She was even more surprised that I openly mentioned our broken engagement without any hesitation. At that moment, she turned her gaze to the vixen I was with. When she saw Chloe Hall's less than pleasant expression, she immediately shrank back. The Hall family was the real high society group she had once begged to enter, but she still tried to act tough. "Chloe Hall, you're nothing but a lowlife taking advantage of a vulnerable person. I'll tell my mom when I get home and have her sue your family." Her immature, bratty attitude made me realize how blind I had been before. Maxwell King, who clearly didn't recognize Chloe Hall, puffed himself up, trying to act tough. "Do you know who you've offended today? Ever heard of Clark Group? You won't be able to walk away from this." Chloe Hall didn't even bother to respond to Maxwell King. She simply locked her cold gaze on Olivia Clark and spoke with icy clarity. "Taking advantage of someone, anyone can say that to me, just not you, Olivia Clark." Upon hearing this, Olivia Clark seemed to have been hit where it hurt. She swallowed nervously, clearly guilty. I was lost in thought, remembering that Chloe Hall and Olivia Clark had once been on good terms, but something had caused them to fall out. I couldn't help but ask, "Chloe, what does that mean?" Before she could answer, the auction began, and we had to enter. What a coincidence. We were seated in the first row next to each other, me with Chloe Hall and Olivia Clark with Maxwell King. Sitting just one seat apart, I could feel the hostility between them. I ignored them completely, as if they weren't there. The auction was grand, with a series of treasures and antiques being presented. The prices soared with every item. I wasn't interested in any of it. I casually listened to the auctioneer's descriptions. It wasn't until the final item was presented, a jade ring from the Yongjang era, that my attention was caught. The smooth jade surface, a royal artifact, had everyone in the room fixated. "Starting bid, 5 million, the auctioneer announced loudly. I noticed Maxwell King's eyes light up instantly. He grabbed Olivia Clark's arm tightly. "Olivia, I really love this ring. If I wore it at our wedding, just imagine how magnificent it would be." It seemed that the child growing in Olivia Clark's belly had given him leverage, and now his appetite had grown. Olivia Clark, used to being adored, obviously liked the flattery. She immediately raised her bidding paddle. 5.5 million. I couldn't help but laugh coldly inside. It seemed Olivia Clark was willing to invest heavily in her little mistress. I recalled that she had never given me anything worth more than a few thousand. Over the years, it was always me working multiple jobs, giving her more than enough. As I was lost in thought, Chloe Hall suddenly raised her paddle. 6 million. I was a bit surprised. I had never heard of the famous Aries of the capital being interested in antiques. I turned to look at Chloe Hall, but she wore a neutral expression as though she had casually raised her paddle without much thought. Olivia Clark's face immediately darkened. She glared at Chloe Hall before raising her paddle again. 7 million, 8 million. Chloe Hall responded without hesitation. The price kept climbing, soon surpassing the 10 million mark. I noticed that Olivia Clark was starting to sweat, clearly feeling the pressure. 15 million. Chloe Hall's voice remained calm. At last, Olivia Clark gave up. Reluctantly, she lowered her paddle, her face ashen, clearly embarrassed. Maxwell King's face had also turned a dull shade of purple. But just when Olivia Clark thought it was over, Chloe Hall landed a final blow. She waved the ring box in her hand and mockingly said, "Thanks for the competition." Upon hearing this, Olivia Clark's face flushed a mix of red and white like a painter's palette, and Maxwell King bit his lip in anger. Chloe Hall nonchalantly tucked the ring box into her pocket, a slightly smug yet happy expression on her face. I couldn't help but wonder what was going through her mind. After the auction ended, we didn't stay long and left immediately. As soon as we exited the venue, Olivia Clark blocked our way. "What's going on now?" I asked with a cold tone. "Justin, you never used to be this impatient with me," Olivia Clark said, her voice surprisingly filled with a hint of grievance. "Just say what you want to say." I wasn't in the mood to reminisce. "Justin, when you threw our engagement ring away last time, the one I bought today was meant for you. I didn't expect some opportunistic person to steal it," Olivia Clark said, her face filled with sincerity, as though she were some kind of lovesick fool. When Maxwell King heard this, his face grew even darker, as if he had swallowed a fly. He looked like he wanted to lash out, but he dared not. He clenched his fists so tightly that his knuckles turned white. Without Olivia Clark around, I could imagine he'd be ready to challenge me to a fight. "Olivia Clark, how many times are you going to manipulate me? Do you think I'm so easy to push around?" Chloe Hall suddenly spoke up, her tone laced with warning. Olivia Clark immediately deflated like a balloon, no longer speaking. Chloe Hall ignored her and grabbed my hand, pulling me away. She held my hand tightly as though staking her claim. Then, to my surprise, she drove us all the way to the airport. I couldn't help but ask, "Where are we going?" "To help every dream come true," Chloe Hall replied. To my shock, Chloe Hall had taken me all the way to England. Here, there were more advanced racing training facilities. That day, Chloe Hall continued to accompany me in training. Just as I was about to take a sharp turn, suddenly, a car came barreling toward me from the side, completely out of control. My heart skipped a beat, but there was no time to react. "Justin," Chloe Hall's voice rang out sharply. She stomped on the accelerator with incredible speed, swerving the car to position herself between me and the out-of-control vehicle. In an instant, there was a deafening crash, sparks flying everywhere. The force of the collision caused my car to veer off the track and slam into the safety barrier. I ended the chaos. My car finally stabilized, and it was only after my rapid, ragged breathing that I realized I was still alive. I quickly unbuckled my seatbelt and staggered toward Chloe Hall's car. The front of her car was severely deformed, and Chloe Hall was slumped against the seat, her face pale, blood trickling from her forehead. Seeing her like this, tears uncontrollably welled up in my eyes. "Chloe Hall, are you okay?" I called out, my voice trembling as I fumbled to open her car door. Chloe Hall weakly lifted her head. Seeing I was unharmed, she gave me a faint smile. She slowly extended her hand and handed me a ring box. "The ring, don't lose it." My heart clenched. Even in this life-or-death situation, Chloe Hall was still protecting that ring box. I opened it, and when I saw the jade ring inside, I could no longer hold back my tears. Chloe Hall raised her hand with great effort and gently wiped away the tears from my eyes. Then she slipped the ring onto my finger. This time, I didn't hesitate. At the hospital, Chloe Hall had a broken left hand, but it wasn't life. I only had a few scrapes. Still, Chloe Hall insisted that I undergo a full-body checkup. While we were waiting for the results, I received a call from Olivia Clark. "Hey," she began in a tone that felt like a reprimand from a father. "I know you hooked up with Chloe Hall just to get back at me. I didn't take it to heart. By the way, where have you been? We haven't seen you in the whole capital lately." I was utterly speechless. First of all, don't hate me. Second, where I've been is none of your business. Olivia Clark, we're done. Stop bothering me. But Olivia Clark seemed to think I was just sulking. She continued with a laugh. "Isn't it because you saw me meeting Maxwell's parents? I don't understand men like you. How many times have you met my parents? Why are you getting mad over something so trivial? Since you want to meet my parents so badly, how about this? When you come back, we'll have a family dinner to welcome you. What do you think?" I couldn't help but laugh sarcastically. "Olivia Clark, if you have a problem, go get it fixed. Seriously, even a gold miner can't dig up someone as purebred crazy as you." It seemed like Olivia Clark finally realized I wasn't going to let her manipulate me anymore. She snapped, "No, Justin Hayes. I gave you an out and you still want to push me away, huh? All right, I'm crazy. I'm pure gold. Let me tell you, I'm giving you this one chance. If you miss it, don't even think about stepping into the Clark family ever again. From now on, no matter how much you beg, it won't work. Don't regret it. As if I care about stepping into your Clark family's door. Whoever wants to can go right in." I ended the call abruptly. Just then, the medical report came through. I stared at the report, my hand trembling uncontrollably, almost dropping it. It clearly read, "Pregnant, for weeks." Chloe Hall was pregnant. I was stunned. My mind went blank, and it felt as if 1,000 fireworks exploded in my head, buzzing in my ears. Didn't I still need to undergo surgery for a reversal? And this, it happened naturally. I instinctively turned to Chloe Hall, who was even more excited than I was, her deep eyes sparkling with disbelief and joy. Ignoring her broken arm, she rushed into my arms, spinning around like a child, overwhelmed with happiness. I couldn't help but be caught up in her excitement, and with a smile that I couldn't contain, I lifted her into my arms. Over the following days, we canceled everything we could, spending every moment together. Despite being in the UK with the influence of the Hall family, we were still spotted by paparazzi. The trending news exploded immediately. It didn't take long for Olivia Clarke to go crazy, calling me repeatedly. Her tone was no longer her usual arrogant one. Justin, where are you? I miss you. Let me come pick you up, okay? Pure gold. I could feel my ear pressed against Chloe's stomach, being lightly kicked by the baby's movements. I had no patience to continue talking to her, hanging up immediately and blocking her number. To my surprise, she, like a persistent pest, changed numbers and kept calling. I had no choice but to turn off my phone. Finally, the world was quiet. Not long after, Olivia Clarke started broadcasting her son's birth everywhere. I saw comments from her followers on her social media. Olivia, did you swap out for someone new? You've always had your fun behind closed doors, but the only one you ever admitted to was Justin Hayes. Olivia, as your friend, I have to say, playing around with a girly man is fine in private, but don't bring him to the public. It's so embarrassing. Sis, you and Justin really broke up. If it doesn't work out, just humble yourself and win him back. Men are all talk, but soft inside. A little submission and a roll in the sheets, and he'll be back. Olivia Clarke, not bothering to pretend anymore, responded to the last message. Humble myself. Why would I care about him? Meanwhile, Olivia Clarke's parents were busy bragging to everyone that the Clarke family finally had a son. Seeing all this, I couldn't help but feel like I had been blind before. But I didn't have the energy to care about their petty drama anymore. I was just watching it as entertainment. A few months later, Chloe Hall and I welcomed our daughter, Sophia Young. Looking at the delicate, perfect little face that looked just like me, Chloe Hall's eyes filled with tears. She held her gently, unable to stop smiling. Then, with my approval, she made the announcement on her social media. Yes, we have a child. The photo was of the two of us together, the jade ring I wore clearly visible on my finger. It turned out that the rumors that had been swirling all this time, she hadn't responded to them because she was waiting for me. Chloe Hall's social media blew up immediately. Truth or dare? Wow, Chloe's been a tough nut to crack for years, and now she's making such a big announcement. I knew the father was Justin Hayes. When I saw those paparazzi pictures, I could tell. Congrats. All these years of unspoken love finally paid off. Wow, they skipped the formalities and jumped straight to baby making. Chloe Hall only replied, thanks for the wishes, everyone. The bar was buzzing with activity. Olivia Clarke, silent, downing one drink after another. Olivia, Chloe Hall just officially announced her relationship with your ex. Fiancée, her assistant, Grace Miller, carefully said, watching Olivia Clarke's expression. Olivia Clarke snapped her head up, her eyes cold, her face as ugly as it could be. It's fine, sis. You never really liked him anyway. Grace Miller continued, sensing Olivia's mood turning. You'd better shut up if you want to live. Olivia Clarke kicked the table in front of her, sending glass shards and spilled alcohol everywhere. Grace Miller trembled in fear and didn't dare to speak anymore, just quietly cleaning up the mess. Olivia, I know you leaked the news about the son you had with Maxwell King to try and provoke your ex. But after all this time, has he even contacted you? He's moved on, and now he has a kid with someone from the whole family. At this, Olivia Clarke slammed her glass to the ground, clutching her head in pain. Just then, Hannah Moore, who had always had issues with Olivia Clarke, purposely chose the wrong time to open her mouth. I heard you've been fooling around, having an illegitimate child, and your fiancé ran off with someone else, she said loudly. Olivia Clarke immediately jumped up, furious, and rushed toward Hannah Moore, swinging her fist at her. Hannah Moore dodged effortlessly and struck Olivia Clarke in the face, sending her sprawling to the ground. But you started it, Hannah Moore smirked, and with that, a storm of punches rained down on Olivia Clarke's face. Olivia Clarke, once so arrogant, was powerless to defend herself, allowing her opponent to come in close and unleash a barrage of insults. The people in the bar watched, but no one dared to intervene. The once proud Olivia Clarke was now reduced to nothing more than a stray dog. After leaving the bar, Olivia Clarke completely lost control. She staggered her way to the confinement center. The alcohol had numbed her senses, and it also made her finally see the truth of her own heart. She barged through the doors of the center, but was stopped by security. She screamed at the guards, I'm Justin Hayes' fiancée. Let me in. The guard gave her a look that screamed, are you out of your mind? He couldn't take it anymore as Olivia Clarke, red-eyed, pushed past him and rushed into my room. Justin. She saw me, her voice trembling. I was hit. Why aren't you helping me? Can't you apply some pain relief ointment like before and kiss me better? Her eyes were full of pleading. I looked at her coldly, my expression completely unreadable. Is this because I had a child with someone else? Are you going to have a child with someone else just to spite me? When I didn't respond, she suddenly lost it, her voice rising to a hysterical shriek. I couldn't help but feel a cold, mocking laugh build inside me. I spoke slowly and deliberately. Olivia Clarke, I'm telling you for the last time, we have nothing to do with each other anymore. If you continue to harass me, I'll call the cops. At that moment, Chloe Hall walked in from outside. Olivia Clarke's composure shattered completely. She pointed at Chloe Hall and started cursing. "Chloe Hall, you homewreck." Chloe Hall merely raised an eyebrow, her lips curling into a taunting smile. Without a word, she had Olivia Clarke thrown out of the room. After Olivia left the confinement center, Chloe Hall took me back home. The moment we entered the bedroom, she wasted no time pushing me against the door. Her hot breath brushed my ear, her voice a low, husky tease. "Justin, I've missed you so much." I felt her body's reaction, my cheeks instantly flushing. I pushed her away. "Don't mess around. Sophia Young is still sleeping." But Chloe Hall only hugged me tighter. Her voice a soft whisper. "Then be gentle." The curtains weren't drawn, and the moonlight poured through the window, casting our shadows in a fleeting moment of union. The next morning, when I woke up, Chloe Hall wasn't in the room. I got out of bed and noticed the handwriting on her bedside table. It felt eerily familiar. Then it hit me. I remembered the love letter I had received from the police the year I tried to take my life. The writing was beautiful, the prose delicate, filled with the longing of a secret admirer trying to save my life. The letter, it had been written by Chloe Hall, but if I remembered correctly, Olivia Clarke was the one who had given it to me back then. At the time, Olivia Clarke and Chloe Hall had been close friends, but they had later fallen out. Now I realized the truth. Olivia Clarke had impersonated Chloe Hall and written the letter to me. That youthful infatuation had ultimately been misplaced. Just then, an urgent knock on the door broke my train of thought. I walked over and peeked through the peephole. It was Olivia Clarke again. She was like gum stuck to the sole of my shoe, impossible to shake off. I hesitated, then opened the door. "Justin, I thought it through. We can just raise the kids together. Make it work for the good of the family." Olivia Clarke's voice was desperate, tinged with a hint of pleading. I couldn't help but laugh at her words. "Olivia Clarke, are you serious? After all this time, you still haven't gotten your brain checked." "Justin, I was wrong before. I'm really sorry. I know my mistake now. Please give me another chance." Olivia Clarke continued begging. "Leave," I said coldly, signaling the end of this conversation. At that moment, Olivia Clarke saw the hickey on my neck, and her face turned bright red with fury. She wanted to say more, but when she saw the coldness in my eyes, she finally fell silent. I thought she might back down then, but the next morning, I opened the curtains and saw Olivia Clarke standing by the villa gate. Her face was swollen and bruised, and she stood like a statue, motionless. She had been standing there all night. I felt nothing inside. I quickly closed the curtains, not wanting to look at anything so unpleasant. A while later, I received a call from Grace Miller. "Brother-in-law, how have you been?" Her tone was hesitant, awkward even. "Get to the point, and I'm telling you for the last time." "Don't call me brother-in-law," I replied coldly, not wanting any further involvement with Olivia Clarke's lackey. "Well," Olivia said, "Maxwell King intentionally sabotaged your relationship, and she's already kicked him out," Grace Miller said, raising her voice slightly, as if worried I might not hear her. I laughed as if Olivia Clarke would only have one lover, Maxwell King. Even now, she's sending people to act like they care about me. Is there anything else? If not, I'm hanging up, I said bluntly, clearly uninterested in any drama surrounding Olivia Clarke. Olivia, she was detained. Grace Miller's voice suddenly became quieter. Oh, now that was interesting. She wanted to ditch Maxwell King, telling him the child wasn't his. But Maxwell King wouldn't leave, insisting on dividing the Clarke family assets. Then Olivia took him for a paternity test, and the child really wasn't his. Maxwell King, enraged, fought with Olivia. "You told Olivia to learn Taekwondo back then." Grace Miller hesitated, as if searching for the right words. "Maxwell King almost got beaten to death, so he had to call the cops. Olivia ended up getting taken away. There had been a group of troublemakers at school back then, and I was worried about Olivia Clarke's safety, so I had her train in Taekwondo for a year. The troublemakers never got to her, but the skills ended up being used on her mistress. Talk about ironic fate. So, whose child is it?" My curiosity was piqued. "Don't know. All I know is it's Olivia's." At that, I almost laughed out loud. They're playing around like this and still don't know whose child it is. And I stupidly thought she had real feelings for me. I hung up the phone, feeling a strange satisfaction wash over me. It was done. I had finally let go, but that fleeting satisfaction didn't last long. A few days later, Olivia Clarke showed up at my doorstep looking completely drained. "Justin, I know I was wrong. Please don't ignore me." Her eyes were red, and her face was pale, almost ghostly. I looked at her impatiently. Once a proud peacock, now she resembled a stray dog, pitiful and helpless. But what did any of that matter to me now? I treated her like air, and shut the door in her face. Chloe and I held the wedding of a lifetime. Pure white roses covered the entire estate, and all our friends and family gathered to witness our happiest day. She walked down the aisle toward me in a pristine white gown. The sunlight filtered through the trees, casting a golden halo around her, as if a goddess had descended from the heavens. At that moment, my world was her, and hers was only me. "Chloe, will you marry me? In sickness and in health, for richer or poorer, will you love and cherish me forever, until death do us part? My voice was deep, but a hint of emotion slipped through. I do, she answered without hesitation. We exchanged rings and recited our vows. My fiancée, the woman I had pursued through my entire youth, had disappeared for months, returned with the child of my mistress, invited me to dinner with her and the mistress, and even her parents were there. Talk about a shock. My married life is simple, free, and happy, but I know I can't always hide in the glow of someone else. I still have my own dreams. I continued my racing career. Chloe Hall supported me unconditionally, both financially and emotionally. I began the grind of daily intense training. Chloe was always there, silently supporting me. She attended every one of my races, celebrating my victories, and when I failed, she was the first to remind me not to give up. At the same time, there was always another unwelcome figure at my races, someone I had no intention of acknowledging. Finally, I became the first ever Asian F4 racing champion. Standing on the podium holding the trophy, the only thing on my mind was Chloe Hall's smile. I knew this was only the beginning. My goal was the stars and beyond. My story had just begun.